Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. Coming up next, Waltham's historic Lyman estate boasts 37 acres of beautifully preserved gardens and one of the oldest surviving greenhouses in America. Our own Breana Pitts tours the grounds of this grand country house with Historic New England's Barbara Callahan.
Barbara, this property is stunning. Tell me more about the Lyman estate.
The Lyman estate was built in 1793. It's a National Historic Landmark today and designed by a fairly prominent architect, Samuel McIntyre. They also designed the landscape at the same time so that they would complement each other. Whenever we're somewhere on the landscape, you can take a look back at the mansion and see that it's in this very picturesque view. And same thing when you're in the mansion, you look out one of these many windows, you can get a beautiful view of the grounds.
Tell me more about just the house itself as we look at it. What style of architecture of this? How old is the house?
We're talking about right before 1800, so this is the federal period of America. This period architecture is very into neoclassicism, so thinking about ancient Greece, ancient Rome. Elements like symmetry, how the left and right perfectly complement each other, this sort of simplicity and elegance, even in a grand estate like this, were very prominent features of that style.
Can see what you're talking about there with the columns and that Greek influence. How about the inside of the home? Because that is really unique as well.
So that's reflected inside as well, and a few of the rooms actually completely retain Samuel McIntyre designs. But over the course of its history, of these 4 generations of Lymans, the architecture of the house and the design has changed over time. So you get a sense of a variety of time periods when you walk into the house, but still with this sort of elegance and simplicity overlaying throughout the experience.
So each family member put their little stamp on it.
Exactly, and they were living in different time periods with different styles, so they were accentuating those in their own home here.
Lots to see outside and inside as well. What are some of the highlights?
So for me and for a lot of visitors to the estate, the ballroom is a particular highlight. It's a unique space showcasing how the first generations of the Lyman family were entertaining in a large house like this. Another favorite is the library. It's a very intimate space in the house with family portraits and beautiful 19th century tiles around the fireplace.
And one of the coolest things about this is that there's multiple ways to see the property.
So one of the best ways to really experience the Lyman estate on a beautiful day like this is to just walk around the grounds.
Well, we have 40 acres here, so we should probably get going.
Yes, let's do it.
How big is the estate? It seems massive.
The original estate at its peak was actually 400 acres, so much, much larger than we experience today. Historic New England has 37 acres with the Lyman estate.
Okay, and what exactly is on the 37 acres? I mean, there's so much to see here. It's not just the house.
Of course, the house is taking up a small percentage of that. So we have these garden area that we're in right now. And then of course, historically, this was farmland as well. So we have the greenhouses, old farming structure remnants, and an additional tree-lined paths past this wall of the property.
I imagine it takes quite the crew to keep this place running, right? With all of the plants here and the landscaping to be done?
Absolutely. So we have a fantastic landscaping staff, and in addition to volunteers like the Massachusetts Master Gardeners, but historically this land would have been taken care of by farm and garden staff. So maybe over 100 workers over the 150-year history either call this place home or utilize it as a workspace.
And we're along this really cool brick wall right now, and there's a story behind the wall too, right?
A lot of people mention the wall. It's a feature that really stands out on the property. And it was actually built very close to the time frame of the house, and it's 400 feet, and this is the original wall. We call it a peach wall because the Lymans installed peaches along the wall and pinned them up to get warmth from the brick. Historically and today, there is a mix of native species and imported species. And we follow along with the historic documentation of photographs and maps and drawings of which plants were here, which trees were planted where, And then we replicate that as best we can so that we can retain the historic integrity of the property.
That's really cool. So you make sure that it looked the same or at least similar to what would have been here hundreds of years ago.
Exactly. So the Lyman Estate is one of Historic New England's 38 properties throughout the region. On site here we have additional Historic New England staff working in the Preservation Carpentry Workshop that's actually housed here in the Lyman Estate Carriage Barn.
Oh, wow. This building right over here.
Yes, this building right here. And they'll work on projects for the Lyman Estate and also for those other properties in New Hampshire or Connecticut, etc.
What kind of preservation work happens in there?
So some of the restoration work they do there is restoring properties, doors, maybe windows, steps. They might be working on a repainting project or some other historic preservation techniques when we're trying to retain as much of the historic integrity of the property as possible.
Something that people might not even realize is that this is one of the oldest greenhouses in the country.
It is. The first one was built in 1804, and it was the grape house right behind us. Part of the structure of the greenhouse is that it houses historic plant collections, like those grapes, like our camellias. It's also used for plant sales, and that expands during the warmer months. But you can come here even in January, December, and be surrounded by life inside the greenhouse.
People who come in and visit the greenhouse, what are kind of the reactions from people? Because there's a lot of exotic plants in there that you wouldn't normally get to see, right?
Sure, you can turn the corner and you see a pineapple, or
Yeah.
you can see some palm trees. Again, if you're seeing that in winter, it can be kind of dramatic. We get a lot of positive reception.
It's so peaceful inside, really. It's so tranquil in the greenhouse, I think.
It does feel like it's just you and the plants. And if you're at a quiet day on the grounds, it can also be this kind of immersive experience where it's you and the garden. And folks can come in most days of the week into the greenhouse, and then on the property and the landscape itself, they're welcome to come dawn to dusk. So we see folks having picnics, we see them walking their dogs, sort of using this as a neighborhood backyard, and we love it.